So, did you ever just get your hands wet and just
Straight up.
smack someone? Like, let's take this back to middle school locker room. I can already smell the musty underwear and Axe body spray. But in the locker rooms, we would always mess around, get our hands wet, and just start smacking each other's necks. And for some reason, those wet smacks are so satisfying. And not only are they satisfying, but they hurt like a. And in my mind, I've always thought this because I've had my share of wet smacks and dry smacks. And let me tell you that wet smacks take the cake on the pain meter. And they're just satisfying to hear, to feel, and to see. But what really makes wet slaps hurt more than a dry slap? Well, basically, if you've taken basic science, you'll know that water is almost an incompressible fluid, meaning water is really difficult to compress. The molecules are so close together that there's not much space between them to compress them anymore. On the other hand, air is compressible. So if you were to slap someone with a dry hand, the air compresses and absorbs some energy, which will slow the hand down, thus making the slap less effective, and it just doesn't sound as good, like I said before. So with a wet slap, those small cracks in your hand and air pockets that are on your hand get filled with water, making your hand a harder and smoother surface. It's the same thing with a pool noodle. So let's use the pool noodle as an example. I'm sure most of you guys know what that is. You know those foam noodles that are supposed to be used for floating, but as kids, we use them to beat each other. Let's be real. No one uses a damn pool noodle to float. So with a foam noodle, you'll notice that when it's dry and you hit or slap someone with it, it's not as effective. Now, get those bad boys wet and see the type of damage you'll be able to incur on an individual. I literally get punched in the face, then take a wet foam noodle slap to the back. But yeah, that's basically the same concept I explained. Water, incompressible fluid. Air, compressible. When the pool noodle is dry, the air compresses the energy, and when it's wet, all the holes in the foam noodle get filled with water, making it harder and, of course, heavier, with a force so powerful that if you literally slap someone with a wet pool noodle, that's equivalent to getting all the infinity stones and wiping everything out. And one thing you will notice, and something I mentioned before, is that a wet slap not only hurts more than a dry slap, but it sounds better. Wow, I feel like I'm doing a debate on why wet slaps are better. But anyways, wet slaps do sound different. Since I do research before doing a video, this is like an experiment. And my videos may seem ghetto to you, okay? Because I use stock pictures to explain stuff. But yeah, it actually is ghetto, I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, I've went as far as testing the different sounds with a dry and wet slap. So I've installed this app on my phone, which is a decibel meter. For you guys that don't know what a decibel meter is, it's a measuring instrument used to assess noise or sound levels. So basically, I'm gonna measure what's louder, a dry or wet slap. Now, this may not be accurate, and sounds alone won't be able to determine or judge what actually hurts more, but we already know what hurts more, the wet slap. And I've explained why. This is just an extra ghetto experiment I've set up to at least try to see if a wet slap is indeed louder than a dry one. Okay, guys, so as you can see, I have the app fired up right here. We're going to be able to test whether the wet slap is going to be louder than the dry slap. Okay, so in front of me right now, I have like a bowl full of water right here. Let me just swish it with my left hand just so you can hear that I do have a bowl of water next to me. Do you hear that? The app is I still have to press that play button right there so it could start. So when I'm quiet, it's at 33. Just because of the sound of the computer and everything else, the PC. Everything else in my room that's loud right now. But yeah, it's at 33 when it's quiet. So just remember that. So our first experiment. Wow, this is so ghetto. I can't believe I'm doing this. So our first experiment right here is going to be the dry slap. Okay, we'll see how loud the dry slap actually. And I'm going to be testing these slaps right on my arm over here. So yeah, we can see the dry slap. Okay, this is the dry slap right here. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the average for the dry slap, as you can see, 71.970. I would say it's around 70. That's the dry slap right there. Now we need to get our hands wet. And like I said before, guys, the dry slap doesn't sound as good. As you can see from the slap, the dry slap doesn't sound as good. We're going to try the wet slap right now and see how that sounds. So let me get my right hand wet. You can hear that. You can hear that, right? So let me get my I hope I don't get my PC and keyboard and monitor wet and everything, but let me try this. That's my right hand. So it's wet. It's dripping. Let me try again. It's at 72.7, but I was getting 80 before. Let me try it again. Let me get my whole hand wet. Okay, so the verdict, the wet slap did hurt a bit more. It did hurt a bit more, but it's not as loud, okay? It's like 2.3 decibels louder than a dry slap. Now, to me, the wet slap does sound louder than just 2.3 decibels. But yeah, that's what we're getting here. And like I said, this is a ghetto ass experiment, so I don't know how accurate this is, and take this with a grain of salt. But let me tell you that the other information in this video is 100% correct regarding your the air pockets in your hand getting filled with water and everything else. That's accurate. But when it comes to the experiment right here, I don't know how accurate this is. And it's, like I said, it's ghetto as hell. But yeah, the verdict is the wet slap is louder than the dry slap by 2.3 decibels. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and that's it for today. See you next